Couple comments I wanted to make here, Don, and you brought up the Maryland offense without Demas, and certainly his loss was catastrophic for the Terrapins. I did not like what I saw from Taulia Tagovailoa as far as body language as the game went on. Did you notice that? I mean, obviously the camera crew pictured him with his hands on his helmet a couple different times.
Right.
There was a penalty down in the red zone. It might have been the one you were talking about, the center, and he kind of just, I don't know if he threw his shoulders up and turned around. It just, to me, body language did not look good. And I know he had a terrible game. It was a rough day for everybody. But did you notice what I noticed as far as body language from?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might have mentioned to you before, Corey, sometimes through the years, sometimes a coach that gets a head coaching job for the first time, if I'm in a conversation with him, through the years, it's happened several times. They've asked me, do you have any advice for me on how to be a better head coach, how to get the job done and get it done really well so that everyone can feel good about me being in that position. One of the things I always mention to any young coach that's a head coach for the first time, just make a commitment to yourself that you're never going to let them see you sweat. And by that, I mean, if the game is not going well, then if you turn into a hot mess on the sidelines, then what kind of chance do your players have? Because they're going to react to you. And the reason I bring it up like that applies to the head coach. It also applies to the quarterback. Because obviously, if he's not on top of his game, then the offense really doesn't have a chance. Because people look to him for leadership. They look to the quarterback for reassurance that we're going to be able to get this done. And certainly Leah, as they call him, I believe they don't call him Taulia, they call him Leah. Yep. Leah, I think, had earned that respect from his teammates. They looked up to him. And the bottom line is he didn't handle it well tonight. You know, he's still just a young guy. And I think that I would imagine that Maryland's coach probably feels I should have been able to do a better job with Tagovailoa during the game. And just remind him, if nothing else, don't have those gestures of frustration, you know, because that just fuels the other team even more. And of course, it's discouraging to our fans. Incidentally, did you notice all the Maryland fans taking off for something more important than a football game tonight?
Man alive. And it was at halftime, Don.
Disappointing.
Out at halftime. But
yeah.
Undefeated team. I get it. You're getting destroyed, but my goodness.
Yeah, a bunch of fair weather fans, I'd say.
Yeah. We do have a phone call here for you, Don. Thank you for calling Iowa Post Game at the Voice of College Football. Who's on the line?
Hey, man, how you doing? This is Sherman. I'm from Alabama. I've been a big fan for a while.
Hey, Sherman. You're an Iowa fan?
I'm more of an SEC homer, but I'm a college football fan all the way through.
So did you watch the big game tonight, Iowa and Maryland?
Yeah, man, and I had a couple key points I took from it. You know, I saw before the pandemic in 2019, I saw the Penn State. I guess Maryland had these blackout games,
okay,
or whatnot. But I thought they got destroyed the same kind of way by Penn State as they did with Iowa tonight. And you know, a lot of people looked at Iowa, you know, as a liability with that. I think that Colorado State game they had.
Yeah. And
I just wanted to ask, do you think that they actually can be a true college playoff contender this year? You know, and do you think that overall that they have a strong base of what they're doing as far as team-wise?
You're not the first person to ask this. We see Roberto LeBron ask the same question in our chat, Don. I know it's early and you're a coach by blood, but when does that discussion become valid to talk about Iowa as a potential contender? If you beat Penn State next week, is it valid to discuss?
Well, there's certainly no reason to discuss it before a win over Penn State, and you could argue even then, maybe not. It's a long season. You know, you shouldn't celebrate for very long, because if you do, you're setting yourself up for defeat. So lots of work to be done. I guarantee the coaches will be able to find mistakes that were made tonight that they'll be able to point out to the players, and hopefully the players. You've heard me talk about some great players I had the privilege of coaching, and the mindset after a while is that it's impossible to do it, but they're striving to play a perfect game. You can't play a perfect game. You can't call a perfect game either as a play caller, but you can try. And we had guys tonight. We have any number of guys on the team now that I'm convinced that are aspiring to play a perfect game. Nothing wrong with aspiring to get that done, but the reality is it's never going to happen because there's just too many snaps in the game. And of course, the guy across from you is trying to win the snap too. So it's not realistic that you can play an ideal game, but you can always try. And if everybody's trying and everybody's pulling in exactly in the same direction, then great things can happen. We've seen that already. I do think we have a chance to become a playoff contender, primarily because I think our defense will always give us a chance to win the game. Now, they gave up a drive early in the game tonight that produced points, and obviously, if Maryland's defense was a little more stout, the truth of it is we knocked some pretty good holes in that defense. We were running the ball. We had a lot of running plays that were 4 yards or more tonight, and that really does help a lot, of course, to be in second and medium or third and short, and to not really feel like you have no choice but to throw the ball. Maybe you can run for a first down in some of those critical down cases. Of course, we ran a lot of nakeds for some first downs and other types of passes. Early in the game, we were hurting with a lot of crossing routes. And the bottom line is, when you're working against man, we had some rub routes. They didn't do a good job of, and sometimes it was one of their own players picking their own player. But it all starts with the receiver understanding how to run the route and taking a pass so that another defender might be in the way of the guy that's trying to guard you. That happened any number of times. The man coverage would have to bubble over the top of a teammate, and by then, of course, he's pretty well dead. As long as we can throw and catch the ball, we're going to be fine, and we did a good job of that tonight. Hats off, too. I get back to number 84. Number 84 never gets tackled with the first guy that shows up. He always makes that guy somehow miss. It's pretty nifty to have a tight end that can make a guy miss, and he doesn't just juke him out of his shoes. He simply gets him a little off balance and then runs through the arm tackle that results. So hats off to Sam for really taking great pride in yards after the catch.
And caller, I do want to mention something about Laporta, but before you hang up, caller, your perspective, you're from Alabama? Are you a Tide fan then?
I'm about 45 minutes from Tuscaloosa, but just overall an SEC homer overall.
So what was your time? I'm curious to get your take as kind of an outsider looking in at this game tonight. Again, I know it's apples to oranges. You're comparing conferences and teams within the conference, but what did you think of Iowa?
I think they're a contender. They say contender versus pretender. I think they're a real contender, but I do think there are a lot of bumps in the road on their I got to look at their schedule again, but I know there are a couple bumps on the road coming up, and I don't think I think offensively they're strong enough, and I think they're overachievers overall with their talent every year. So,
yeah.
I'm interested to see, but I do think Alabama and Georgia are the two clear best teams in the country, and I think both of them will end up in the playoffs at the end of the year. So, to me, it's just the other two slots.
Well, I don't want to segue, Don, to a totally different conversation about the playoff. Again, we're less than 5 weeks in, but this is the year. If a team like Iowa is going to get into the playoff, you've got Clemson with 2 losses already, and you've got some SEC teams who are probably going to beat up on each other, maybe more than normal. Iowa State was a contender. At least people thought they were. They've got 2 losses. This is going to be a kind of an odd year, maybe an opportunity for a team like Iowa. I'm not saying Iowa specifically, but a team like Iowa to at least be in this hunt late.
Oklahoma looks vulnerable too.
Yes, absolutely. Anything else, caller?
That's it. I'm glad I got to, give my 2 cents. I really appreciate you taking my call, man.
Hey, it's always good to talk to somebody from Alabama and get a perspective from somebody outside the conference. So thanks for calling in.